Wan is sitting with her best friend Jungkook, who never left any chance to with her, making her laugh for his at cafe listening to the soft clicking of coffee cups. So, how's your contract marriage? And that your icy contract husband? Does he even talk small things like thanks and sorry? He said dramatically, making Wan laugh at him. Stop it, Jungkook. You're terrible. And he don't talk. But, but, very less. He's not as bad as you think. But I don't even forgot his look that made me run from that awkward environment to take the fresh air instead of that which lingered there, making things more awkward to even talk with you. He said while looking at you. I don't understand. I didn't feel him looking at us like that. Jungkook looked at Wine, who's defending her husband, making him say, I see. Now you're defending your husband. Did you perhaps develop feelings for him? He said, making you say after sipping your coffee, it's just a contract marriage. Yeah, a contract marriage, which you didn't tell to your best friend, and he himself got to know after your marriage. He said, making Wine sigh, and said, I don't want to tell you more. You have had already done so much to me, and I can't ask you for my mother's operation too. You don't want to tell me, and now you're in trouble. I'm not in Jungkook. He said, placing her hand, assuring him that she's safe. Kind to me lately. He's been kind to me lately. We are fine, she said, making his heart get looking at her. Are you taking this marriage serious? Do you want to give this marriage a try? He finally asked the question which he's longing to ask her, and by seeing the curiosity behind his question, Ryan didn't say anything. Don't be to call it love when he's taking the toe for you to sit to prove his gentleman things to society and to people for which he married you for his position. Jungkook, he never been like that from the start. He doesn't even look at me at start. But now things started to change a bit. He's been talking to me. Don't fall for the simple things, Wine. He said, making Wine shook her head and said, I can take care of myself, she whispered while looking at his curious eyes yet hold. I'm just worried since I can't take his cold eyes on me for barely an hour. And I can't even imagine what you have been going through from the start. You deserve to be with someone who loves you. Think about it. And your contract is ending this week. And I bet he may even want you to stay. He said, making Wine looked at him and thinking, I fall in love with him without a warning. But will I ever make it? I don't even know that it's ending if Jungkook didn't mention it. Is it really enough for me with his gentleman acts of for his name and fame? Are you okay? Is anything bothering you? He asked, making Wine shook her head and took another sip to distract herself while thinking about the coffee taste. You deserve someone who never makes you doubt yourself or your feelings, he said, making Wine widen her eyes and looked at him. There are so many people around who loves you like and never, even if you didn't feel the same way. Finally said what he's holding on Wine from so long, making Wine widen her eyes. What? He smiled softly, looking at her before his fingers slightly brushed against her cheeks as he tucked a stray. Wine froze in her place, looking at him and understanding his reason behind the questions. I always want your happiness, but it's in your hand whether to put in the hands of who can play with it or who can cherish it. His words are simple, but yet powerful, just like her feelings towards her contract husband. Jungkook on her forehead, making one looked at him from her whole thoughts. And remember, I'm there even if you choose him or someone over me. He said and sit back looking at her, not knowing that someone already watched everything, which his eyes turned into and just looking at them. And people around him are giving looks to him, seeing him, a thin layer of white shed in this cold weather, not knowing that his whole body is after witnessing the scene in front of him. I'm going to my home returning from my work, but my stuck. at the couple who are laughing wholeheartedly, making me take a close look. But the laughing together makes me feel, since I'm not the one who's filling her world with her laughter. And with that, I got up from my car and looked at them, but my whole world fell apart seeing him and saying something which, with his glitter eyes, my eyes just fixated on her, who is frozen on her spot and not saying anything. What if that unloved proposal? Will she accept him? The continuous thoughts are making him, which left his knuckles. I should have proposed her before. A tear slipped from his eyes before trailing to his cheeks before he even realized it. As he thought all of the moments he had brushed her off, the times he had dismissed her kindness, her warmth, which he thinks that love is nothing more than a liability. Wine, who already know that in time for her to go since taehyung will come this time, she rushed before saying goodbye to Jungkook, making him follow her. After seeing his look other than which she got used making and looked at Jungkook. Think of my proposal. You know where to find me. Get in. He said it with his voice, making her quickly get in front beside him. Fine looked at Taehyung's hands, his knuckle turns from pressure. Carried was replaced by something far more, with a mix of Taehyung. Wine whispered, making him raise the speed with his Taehyung. It's not like he raised the speed more, making Wine. And after remembering her with speeds, he quickly slowed the speed and looked at Wine, who's now and looking at outside the window to calm herself. Taehyung went inside after closing the door with his full power, making it. And Wine asked him, since she don't like when people show their Taehyung, it's not what you think. She said, making him look at her and took close steps towards her, making her go back. Is that so? Looking at her and then at her like he's observing. Then tell me, how should I think? Tell me how to think and how to react when someone proposed. It's just, remember? Yes, I know it's just, but it didn't stop me from. And you know what? When I looked at you, both smiling, I didn't think like what happens if someone sees you like that, but about the rules and all. Mine is listening to her husband while thinking about his, which made her like this is not she expected, at least not this thing being this close to her. Is this really happening? She thought to herself while looking at her husband, who's showing lots of emotions, like everything towards her. The day when you stepped into this house, the day when you talked with me by looking at my eyes, which is not. It's just you, the genuine you, and not someone who just show authority. His fingers are twitching, wanted to reach you, but wasn't sure if he should. And when I handed you the card, expecting you to take it like others, but you didn't even touch it, saying the money I gave you for the marriage is enough. I always aim from you to not make you uncomfortable after knowing the real you, which made me every single day of knowing you better than yesterday. For the first time, she felt the barriers he had kept between them are breaking down, revealing a side of him which she never thought she would see. But after seeing your best friend, by calling me an icy and with names, I got to know what mistake I did of not getting close before. I should have been the one to make you smile, to stand by your side too. Now I see someone stepping in to give you what I should give you from the start. It's not too late, Taehyung. What if it is? I love you, she said, making him stop and looked at her for some moments with, you haven't lost me, because I'm yours from the start. After listening to her words and hugged her quickly, protectingly, I will be a man whom you deserve, he said, making her smile with tears since this time which she's finally came. I never know you accept me, he whispered while hiding his face in the crook of her neck, making Ryan say, because you never know how much I'm for you. I never know you love this. Because I'm warmth. Who wants to melt it? She said softly. After some days, Wine is cooking with Taehyung is doing his work in his laptop, but when his Wine is struggling to take the jar, which is above her height, he silently went towards her and hold her, making her lift foot got to normal position after sensing her husband behind her. Taehyung, will you help me to take this? Sure. And lean closer and hold it tight since she. But saying his and looked at him, and Taehyung, after taking the jar, he looked at her, making her. And when they're doing this, they heard a soft knock on the door, making them to look at the door side, but seeing Jungkook standing there. Vine went towards Jungkook, making Taehyung followed her. How are you doing, Jungkook? Are you happy, Vine? He said, making Taehyung. She is, he said, making Jungkook look the hand at Vine and smile before nodding while looking down and said, I'm glad to know. You deserve someone who loves you like the way you love them. At least someone who don't hesitate. You must provide warmth, he said and went from them before glancing at both of them. After some years, stay here and come outside. And why did you lock the door? I won't come if Chivo didn't come, he said, making her sigh and said, who said Chivo is not coming? She's coming with Chanko, uncle, and Sarah auntie, she said, making him and open the door. Come, mommy, I have to go to the dressing room. You should select nice dress for me. Dad, you too. He said, making wine, looked at Taehyung, who just shook his head while smiling. Mom, how I look in this suit? Is it okay, Dad? I guess I should talk about him with Jungkook. Isn't he